morning. If you're new around here, welcome. I'm Jeff. Welcome to my sandbox. Walk with me over to the coffee shop. This is something I do every morning. There's a story behind it. You can watch some of the past videos, but I've been doing this since October of 2020. So what does that mean? 5 years now. So what I'm doing here on Substack is inviting you to walk with me, have a conversation on the way over to the coffee shop. My focus for everything in the sandbox will always somehow revolve around the idea of growth, personal growth or relationship growth or professional growth, if you want to say it that way. So, good morning, Nicole. Probably all the time, this will be an extension, a continuation of a conversation I start over on a show that I host every morning called Java with Jeff. And over there on Java with Jeff this morning, started with this. I co-opted a post that I saw on Instagram that said, the more we practice, the more we believe we can, or the more we practice, the more we believe we can improve, the more we believe we can improve, the more we practice. And so it really made me think about what I call Jeff's 5 steps to growth, which are: number 1, take action. Number 2, continue that action until it becomes part of your regular motion. Sustain that regular motion until number 3 develops momentum. Because number 4, momentum drives change, and number 5, change leads to growth. So that's 5 steps. And I saw this post and I thought, well, what if we change that a little bit and say, take action. The more we take action, the more we grow. The more we grow, the more we take action. Or I guess I left the belief piece of it out. That's important. The more we believe we can grow, the more action we take. The more action we take, the more we believe we can grow. I think I got that all messed up. So I have to go back and look at my note here on Substack to see the actual quote. But it got me thinking. That post got me thinking. On Java with Jeff, I was talking about basketball games that I called last night. But I was thinking some more about that. Some things we didn't talk about on Java with Jeff this morning. In these related to this, all these actions that we need to take. And you can take it the way the actual post said, what did the post actually say? The more we believe we can improve. I don't remember how it goes now, but anyway, it made me think about all the practices that we can create. It's the, maybe you have a gratitude practice, maybe you have a yoga practice, maybe working out as a practice, maybe meditation, maybe date night, maybe, a weekly staff strategy session, whatever it is, through whichever lens, your personal or your relationship or your professional growth, you probably in some way have established some practices. And if you haven't, maybe that's food for thought. But where do all those practices begin? They begin, I think, watch this Volkswagen van trying to make it on the ice. That's not something you see every day. There he goes. I believe that those practices start, right? I don't think there are very many people that can just flip a switch. Oh, I'm going to start a gratitude practice. And tonight before bed, they write down times that they felt grateful or things that they were grateful for. And then tomorrow, and then the next day, and the next day, and forever, right? That's kind of counter to how we work as human beings. It's if that were the way we would work, then James Clear's book Atomic Habits wouldn't even be a thing. And Atomic Habits is about doing the little things that add up and help you develop the practice, or if that's the right way to say it. And so I think, when we think about the practices, it even fits into this idea, right? We have to believe, maybe first we have to believe that this practice is going to benefit us somehow. If it's a gratitude practice, again, whatever it is, whichever area of your life, and I picked out the personal growth, the relationship growth, the professional growth, those three lenses, because I believe that sort of, you take those three together and then we have sort of a holistic person, the different aspects of our lives as human beings. And so, I think whichever lens you want to view this through, when we think about the growth that we want or we need in those areas, it starts with a belief that we can. It starts with, going back to the practices, it starts with a belief that, hey, if I start to meditate, that's going to help me calm myself, center myself. It's going to bring me more focus, through that practice, not by doing it once, not by doing it one time today. And for those of you that don't know me, hey, Lauren, how are you? Glad you're here this morning. Along for the walk. I feel funny today because I've got about half the weight of clothing on today that I have the past few days. Yesterday was a balmy 22 or something when I walked, but the several days before that it was single digits, and now today it's 40. So all the snow is going to be gone soon. But anyway, glad you're along for the walk. For those that may be here or may watch this later or whatever that don't know me, I've got a couple of kids, both I don't know, they're highly motivated. They have definitely tapped into intrinsic motivation, which I think is ultimately a real necessity in our lives. One very involved with athletics and other competitive endeavors through school and college, played college baseball. And then one that was in the performing arts. If you're not familiar with color guard, I always like to, I think it was a Holiday Inn Express commercial several years ago where his dad's traveling with his daughter and for flag dancing competitions. That's basically what color guard is. That's what, we got a little bit more flow in the creek today. As things melt, we're in about a 2-week cycle right now. Winter storm, freeze, thaw, rain, winter storm, freeze, thaw, rain. Looks like that's what winter's about this year here in the Midwest. Where's your daughter flying to, Lauren? And do you take her to DIA? Is that the airport or a different airport? But both of these kids have been on big competitive stages. The high school that my daughter went to, or they both went to, but their high school has a, at that level, they call it World Guard, has a color guard team that has historically, it's been like, I don't know, 16, 17, 18 years in a row, they've made the world finals, and they never finished below like number 6 in the world or something like that. And the time my daughter competed, they brought her up to World Guard when she was in 6th grade. So she was at that level for a long time. So both of these kids are very, very used to practice and practices. And yet, and I remember back when they were young, I was talking Java with Jeff that I also do public address announcing for high school sports. If anybody needs anybody at a higher level, college or whatever, kind of think I'd like to move up, but move up to the bigger leagues. But I do public address announcing for a lot of high school sports, and did 7th and 8th grade girls basketball last night, which was never done that before. But this is the high school giving a platform to the younger kids and letting them experience the big gym and the bigger crowds and the hoopla around it. So it is really cool. But I remember back when the kids were younger, I'm going to do this thing, right? And they try it one time and maybe wonder, maybe complain, oh, it was hard. It didn't really do anything, didn't really pay off, whatever it was. And that's not how it works. Right? It doesn't work that way. We sit down and we do the gratitude journal one night. And then maybe the next night, and maybe we forget about it the next night, but we have to build that. We have to develop that. We have to keep doing it over and over. And I think it really comes from, ooh, look at that. It's a fancy crane. A tree trimming going on over there. Maybe you can see that. I've never seen them bring in a crane like that. That's wild. That's what happens when you get essentially old growth in an old neighborhood. But we know that we have to have this belief that it's going to work in order for that to fuel the fire to keep going, to keep trying. And I think that's where I mentioned earlier this flywheel effect, right? The flywheel, it's a weighted thing, and it's once you get it turning over and over and over, the momentum, not ironically tying to Jeff's 5 steps of growth, but once you get that momentum going, it sustains itself, right? And you get the physics involved, right? The equal and opposite, right? So it has to be able to overcome the friction in order to keep going. And that's true for us. It's true for us in our growth. We have to have that belief that gives us the fuel, the fire, so to speak, to keep taking the action. And once we start taking that action, we get a taste. We get a taste of the success, if you will, or the taste of the growth, and go, oh, I believe that if I keep doing this, I will be able to grow. Put grow in quotes. What does that mean? Back to the meditation example, I think is what I started with. I believe that if I really, got a lot out of meditating today. It's calmed me. It's helped me to focus, all those things. I believe that if I keep doing this will have a big impact on my day-to-day. This will have a big impact on me, on my life, on my relationships, on my business. I'm gonna meditate again tomorrow. Right? We get that momentum, we get that taste, or we have that belief. And maybe it starts with a taste. I don't know. Get the taste of success. We develop that belief, and we say, "I'm going to do it again," and then we do it again, and it has to keep going in that way. We have to build that flywheel in order to keep these things going. The more that we believe that we can grow, the more we'll take action. The more we feel that growth, the more action we'll take. And it's this cyclical thing. Again, back to 5 steps of growth. We take action until that action becomes part of our regular motion, and we sustain that motion until it develops momentum, because that momentum drives change, and that change leads to growth. And the joke around Java with Jeff, your internet connection is unstable. Okay, well, hopefully you still have me. Hopefully you're still here. Joke around Java with Jeff. Those are Jeff's 5 steps to growth, and then there are predendums to that. And one of the predendums is curiosity. We have to be curious about what would it mean? What would happen if I started to meditate? So we have to have that curiosity, and then we have to have that belief. Okay, I believe that this could have a positive effect. And then we have to make a decision to take that action. And then we get into the 5 steps: action, motion, momentum, change, and growth. All right. Let's see if I can get us here without getting run over. Ironically, this is one of the tightest streets that I have to cross, and people are a little bit more unhinged through there than a lot of places. So I think, it's a good lesson for us. It's back to the basics. I mentioned this earlier. I've been doing a lot of strategy sessions over the past month or so, and I love them. I love doing the strategy sessions. One, because it's a place, it's a time we spend 2 hours, and because we come with this intention, and I ask, send me what I need to know before our session so that I can be prepared and show up for a couple of hours together. We're intentional. We brainstorm, we figure some things out, and it can be and I don't say this just to, to like promote myself. I think this is just the nature of these types of sessions. It can be 2 of the most impactful hours of the year because we have that intention, we have that focus. And one of the things I talked about earlier, and I don't ever talk specifics, especially tied to a particular person. When I talk about these sessions and what I see and hear and outcomes, I always anonymize it. But one of the things, I was talking with somebody yesterday and kind of giving a recap of what I've seen and heard. And there are a couple of threads. And one of the threads is, and most of the time, I said this earlier, most of the time, the people I'm doing these sessions with, they self-identify this, but it's a need to get back to the basics. It's a need to say, you know what, this is the result I want. And I see that I need to get back to, or maybe I need to get to the practice of, and maybe it's business development. These strategy sessions are generally, they're definitely growth sessions. They could be about personal growth or relationship growth, certainly. But most of them have been about business. And so maybe it's, hey, I need to get back to the basics of business development. I need to make the phone calls. I need to have the meetings. I need, whatever it is. Sometimes it's about another aspect. It's about cash flow, or it's about, in any aspect of the business. So it comes up. That's definitely a common thread. It's easy for business owners, especially small business owners of any type of business or industry. It's easy because you wear so many hats to get out of the routine, honestly, of taking care of the basics. And I think this today is a good reminder that we have to get back to the basics. We have to do the things. And I think it's good encouragement. The more we take action, the more we see that we can grow, the more we believe we can grow. And the more we believe we can grow, the more we'll take action. And so we have to get there. Lauren, I hope your daughter has safe travels to Southwest Washington State. Southwest Washington State. Okay. It's an area I've never been to. Sounds beautiful. Hope she has safe travels and a enjoyable trip there. What is this truck? Bulk CO2 / gases / dry ice. So cool. Not really. Well, literally, I guess. We can make some steam. Okay. I made it to the coffee shop. So I need to wrap this up. Thank you for walking with me today. And remember, the more we believe we can, the more action we'll take. The more action we'll take, the more we believe we can. It creates this flywheel. It never starts with just one action or starts with just one time. We have to take the action that turns the momentum, that builds turns the motion, that builds the momentum. There's the Volkswagen bus again. That drives the change and leads to growth. Remember that, and then I'll be back tomorrow. Thanks for walking with me today.